Welcome back to another episode of Reusable Space Program. We are upon the moon as our fuel truck that we put down last episode tries to get to the base. I suppose we should do something with it, eh? Right, so after speeding past the moon base, we've just reversed backwards. It seems that the brakes on this tanker were not quite as good as I had hoped. So, while we've got our craft down there for transporting fuel, we actually need to put that fuel into something. So, we're going to send down our moon tanker, or whatever I've decided to call it. I think it's a moon tanker. Yeah, we're calling it the moon tanker. We're going to just activate all of its tanks. So what we've actually got is some of the external tanks there I have actually got set locked. And particularly with this load, I am taking down more fuel than I need because I want to judge the sort of delta V requirements of going down. I don't want to run out. Now, the thing to remember here is that what we actually want is, in effect, for when this lands, for it to have almost no fuel left in its tanks at all. We want to basically, if I can get it down to 10 meters per second of fuel or of thrust or power left in those tanks, that'd be perfect because it means we're not wasting any fuel. Every bit of fuel that we take down to the surface and don't use is wasted because we're having to actually use fuel to get it there and then bring it back anyway. So this first one will basically be us judging roughly how much fuel we're going to need and delta V requirements and so forth. And so we're going to use those external tanks as gauges and see how many of those I actually need to keep. Obviously it will change depending upon the flight profile we take here, and we're using our sort of standard approach, which is aim for the far edge of the crater, then bring it in, then go partway down, then slow it down a bit more. We don't want to land too close. That's part of the reason we've got the tanker, is so we don't have to land too close to the actual mining site. Primarily because landing close is not the easiest thing when you're doing it manually. I know I could probably practice and get this really good, but in reality it's just annoying, particularly on the moon, because the moon's gravity is actually reasonably strong considering it's got no atmosphere compared to places like Minmus. Minmus doing this would be a lot easier. But we've got that tanker that can drive around, so that's part of the reason we've developed it in the way we have. So we're going to land at a safe distance because whilst targeting is not brilliant, also landing sometimes goes wrong. And the idea of knocking out my mining base and my tanker with this crashing to the earth or to the ground, to the Kerbin, to the moon, would be slightly annoying. Now remember, I might not hit it as I come down, but if this thing was to go down too fast and break up into parts, those parts could fly sideways and easily damage the rest of the stuff on the moon. So actually landing a big craft like this is probably a good idea to put it a distance away. It may not look that big on the screen, but this is actually a significantly large craft. It's one of the largest sort of craft we actually have. It takes a lot of mass, a lot of energy in it. So there we go. We're down on the surface, ready to fuel up. We've got quite a lot of fuel in those external tanks, you can see. So before we do anything, you can see the base is jumping crazily there. Still got stuff going on that's a bit wrong. So we're going to change its legs again because its legs are obviously problematic. So we've basically been playing around with this, and it is a problem, shall we say. I also noticed that I did not put a ladder on almost anything. So most of the vehicles here do not have ladders because obviously our crew can do whatever they want. So there we go. We're going to collect our fuel line, and that's using Kerbal attachment system. We're going to attach the fuel line, and Gwyneth is going to get into the cab. Is she? No, she's having to think. She's thinking about it. No, can't activate that. You've got to go into the cab. You've got to get it. There we go. So what we'll actually do is we'll get Isaac to actually activate the pumps because that's just easier, isn't it? So Isaac's going to activate the pumps at some point if he does it. And there we go. So the fuel's going to be transferred over. While that's happening, we need to actually look at getting more stuff around the moon and getting its situations improved, because we've got all this fuel that's going to be coming up, but the infrastructure is going to need to be improved, because once we get that fuel up into orbit, well, where's it going to store? We've got a moon tanker or a fuel tanker. We've got a fuel tanker in orbit that we could use, and that's all very nice, but once that's full, or once that's traveled to Kerbin, well, where does it go? Do we just leave the moon tanker there? We want to get fuel flowing. We want a lot of fuel in orbit, because then it opens up possibilities, because there's some missions I want to do. It's going to take a lot of fuel. So we need to work on that infrastructure. So we may need to upgrade the moon station, or moon station 1. I mean, maybe we'll have a moon station too. That might be an idea, actually. And then we can just dock to whichever one is closest. But sometimes that gets a bit crazy. So anyway, we're going to send back cargo 1 and 2 to the moon station. And we're going to bring them together because we want to actually first of all refuel them. They're pretty much dry. You can actually see on the gauges there for cargo 1 there. You can see cargo 1 with its little personnel compartment. It is dry, but also it has nuclear engines and a cargo a compartment for holding Kerbals. And we need to get a Kerbal back to Kerbin. So that might be a nice transport, because the moon lander is not going to be able to do that and come back easily. So that's an idea. Plus also, I'm not sure I've got anything in orbit of Kerbin that actually has the required docking ports to actually allow some things with the moon lander. So that's another one as well. We've got a bit of compatibility issues. So we're going to bring in cargo 2 as well. So we've got cargo 1 at the station. We're going to bring cargo 2 in. Cargo 2's got a lot more fuel on board, and I think partly that is because it carries more fuel. It's actually the more capable of the two, because it doesn't have that personnel compartment on it. It's a slimmed down version. It was our first robotic cargo craft, in fact. Now everything's robotic, isn't it? And so it's going to come along and it's going to dock in as well. And this is just, standard docking. I'm in the dark. I apologise if the picture is too dark for you, but I can see it and it's not too bad. I have thought about getting sort of like ambient lighting or something like that just to brighten it up, but I'm trying to avoid adding even more mods to a system, because this one is this save is stable at the moment. I don't like adding things when I don't have to. So there we go. The crew are now on board the station, you can see, and so the decision is taken that we're going to actually send cargo 1 and 2 back to Kerbin. They're going to take Billy Bobford with them. Billy Bobford? I don't even know it's called Billy Bobford. It's Billy Bobdo. Billy Bobdo back to Kerbin, because that's our mission. We have money available to do that, and we have a lot of money at the moment, but we are potentially going to run out of some at some point. One of the bonuses of a reusable program is that we do get a lot of resources and money back whenever we land stuff back on Kerbin. We've got a lot of material now in orbit that's taking a lot of time and money to put up there, and we're not getting money back from it. So we're gonna have to start looking to the future of other ways of getting funds. So there we go, firing 4 nuclear engines all at the same time. That is a lot of thrust for, well, relatively. It's not actually a lot of thrust, it's relatively for that craft. Billy Bobdo has been squashed back in his seat with the power of the quad nuclear engines, the wobbling so much. So there we go. Coming in, we transfer over to Kerbin, and then it's just a case of slowing down. Of course, Billy Bobdo is only able to actually fly this craft. He is a rescue victim. I don't know if you would call him that. So he's going to just sit and watch while our robotic system basically does this. Luckily, you'll notice we have signal, which is good. We've got our communication system there to allow us to get the signal, and we're going to put this into orbit nicely. Just want to pull it into orbit. And at the moment, there's no real plans for cargo 1 and 2. I'm currently debating whether to bring them back down to Kerbin and basically scrap them. Obviously, I can't just leave them in orbit because it is reusability, so I need to take them back down and either retrofit them or reuse their parts. And I do have plans for nuclear engines, so that'd be good. So it's just going to stay in orbit, and we're going to send up another craft. This is Sean. That's right. Sean is piloting another craft. He's going to be joined by Amelia Kerman, who is a new rookie who is eager to join the cause and show her worth. And this is a new craft. I don't actually, we wanted to call this just the LKO return craft, but Sean was eager to call it, the hottest ride in the system, because he's been on Kerbin quite a while now, and Nakot is breaking all the records for longevity and piloting skills, and he's so he was really excited to actually do this, and then he found out it was going to be a taxi mission again, so yeah, not great for him really, is it? So anyway, we're going to bring the craft over, and it's going to try and dock with cargo 1 and 2, or cargo 1-2, cargo 12, I don't know. It's going to try and dock with them. So we basically are just going to set up our maneuvers. We're going to try and have a rendezvous that's as close as possible. There's decent thrust on this craft. It doesn't look as though it's got much fuel left, but it has enough to do this rendezvous. it is a single stage 2 orbit cut down craft. I could have just modified the Vanguard and put some cargo capacity on it or something like that, but I wanted to make something that was a little bit cheaper, because the Vanguard does actually rack up the monies, shall we say, particularly because of its engines, and this does have 2 of those same engines on board. I think I need to develop something with a cheaper engine, and I think you'll probably see that in 5 or 6 episodes, because we're going to start moving a lot of crew up and down from orbit, or more accurately up to orbit. I don't really want to move things back down to Kerbin if I can avoid it. If my crew can stay up in orbit, that saves us a lot of time and effort with transporting people. So we're going to try and create probably some sort of habitations and habitats up in orbit so they can actually live there and we don't have to worry about them coming back down. So he did skim the atmosphere while he was trying to get a quicker rendezvous, which you'll see there was a little problematic. So he's actually popping through the atmosphere a little bit there, which does actually throw off the rendezvous planning a little bit, and I have to then make up for that. You'll see that we've actually lost that. So one thing when you're doing a rendezvous, just make sure you don't put your craft through the atmosphere, because it will just ruin the whole thing. Now, obviously, Sean is hoping that he can actually carry out the rendezvous and impress, because Nakot has brought her craft around the moon to 2 different locations in one sort of flying trip, and rendezvoused with them and then returned back to the space station that she actually launched from. Sean hasn't done any of that. In fact, Sean's done very little since his early sort of explorations. He's really excited about this, so he's coming up towards the target craft. He's doing his burn, he's getting all wonderful alignments, and he's very happy about all this. Actually, he should be getting a little encounter there finally after his messing around. It was noted that Sean messed up. In fact, going through the atmosphere, he's not going to win you any command points at all, is it? So there we go, and overfired his engines there as well. So you see there, Sean just got a bit carried away, and he's overcooked it, and he's looking a bit... Amelia is laughing quite considerably at this point. She's the rookie. She should not be laughing at Sean. He is the veteran. At this point, it was decided by ground control that actually Sean would not be doing the docking. In actual fact, we'd get the robotic craft to do it, which you can imagine he was not particularly happy about. It was said that it was primarily because they were concerned that his craft would run out of fuel. That was the reasoning. In reality, it's because, he's not been particularly impressive. He's not flown a lot recently, and we're not too happy with what we have seen from him. We think he might need to, meet up with Nakot at some point, and she can actually teach him how to fly a plane, because at the moment he's not been particularly impressive. So there we are, robotic craft positioning itself. We're going to go for a docking with our standard size docking port, which is on one end of this combined craft, and we've just positioned ourselves all curled up like that, and it's just going to come in and dock away. There we go, and we'll just transfer our crew across. So Billy Bobdo will just move across. So while that is happening, of course, we're on the surface. Gwyn is just disconnecting the fuel pipe, because got to do that. Can't leave the fuel pipe lying around though. We've got to make sure we put it away. There we go. So we've now got a nice full load of fuel, and she's going to jump back in and get ready to go, because she's pretty much ready to go and deliver that fuel, I think. And hopefully next time we'll see her doing it. So Sean detaches from the cargo craft. They're going to stay in orbit. Potentially we're going to look about reusing them for something, or bringing them down. There'll be a decision on that in the next episode. So Sean comes around the planet. He's going to come around to about 90 degrees from... Whoa, that was tight. Did you see that? Yeah, that's right, Sean. This is why we don't trust you. You just missed a cargo craft. How did you not hit... How did you do that? That's crazy. So he activates the air brakes, and he's aiming to come down somewhere near the KSC. However, he is really overshot, partly because of the fact that he hasn't flown recently. This is a new craft. He doesn't know the aerodynamic capabilities of it and so forth, but also because he was so shocked by flying past the space station that he actually cut his engines a little early. And so he's actually gone a long way past his target here, because of course he can't thrust back heavily. He doesn't have the fuel for it. This SSTO does not have the capability to do what some of our other craft would be able to do, and pull themselves back towards the KSC. So he's ditching it in the water. The air brakes on the top there are a new development. He's put the legs out, but I'm not entirely sure that's really required. So there we go. There's Billy Bobdo is going to be coming down, hopefully. Is he going to be safe? Is he going to be safe? Yeah, so Billy Bobdo is going to come down. Amelia's safe. Mission completed. Right, on the moon. Well, over down, you can see the mission is complete. Over down on the moon there. Yeah, Gwyn is just taking the journey over there to the Mun tanker, and she's gonna fill that up with every drop of fuel she's got on board. This tanker, I think, should fill most of that up, but it will probably need two. In a normal environment, it will need 2 trips to do that, because it is just not big enough. We didn't have the payload capacity, we didn't have the storage, the space on the craft to actually put a bigger craft in there. So we may need to send another one down. We may need to send another little truck to attach on the back of it, or do something. I'm not entirely sure. We will see. It would be quite easy just to send another one of these up and have them tail to tail, and then we wouldn't have to worry about forwards and backwards, I suppose. We'd always be facing forward, a bit like a train. Call it the Mun train. That would be quite cool, wouldn't it? But as she approaches the final destination that she is on, as she approaches the Mun tanker in its all its majesty, from me, until next time, have a great one.